Charlotte Edwards is a person that so many of us have worked with so closely over many years. After all, the Oklahoma Association of Career and Technology Education has been so central to the career and professional development experiences that most of us have shared. It's provided a strong, unifying force for our system success. Needless to say, during Charlotte's tenure, leading our professional association, a number of extremely important transitions and challenges were encountered. Charlotte's abilities were extremely important to our system during this time. Charlotte and I came into our leadership roles in the vocational technical education system at about the same time, a time of huge transition. As did many of you, we both had the wonderful experience of knowing and working with many of the originals, people like Francis Tuttle, Arch Alexander, Larry Hanson, first Oklahoma Vocational Association Director Bill Harrison, and that first round of area Votech school superintendents that included truly originals such as John Bruton, Ken Phelps, John Hopper, Bill Powers, and others. Almost all of the originals had come from a background in agriculture. Charlotte Edwards was a key part of the second wave of leadership. People like Bruce Gray, Frank Coulter, Greg Winters, Tom Friedman, Leo Presley, Juanita Bice, Mike Bailey, and others. Interestingly, many of this new wave came from a distributive education background. Like the originals had been, we were a close-knit group, and I think our common background and certainly our shared experiences had a lot to do with that and perhaps contributed some to our success. In addition to the transition of leadership that was experienced, Charlotte was in her leadership role during a period of huge transition of technology. Technology that took us from typewriters to computers, from fixing cars and auto mechanics to computer troubleshooting and automotive technology, from teaching hands-on skills to skills including math, science, physics, reading, and writing. The complexity of our field had changed quickly and dramatically. The political landscape was also undergoing a lot of transitions as well. We moved from a time of overwhelming support, almost unanimous support, into a more challenging, questioning era among our political leaders. If you stop and think about the many major changes in our field over the years, the establishment of the separate State Department in the early 1940s, the need for adult vocational education following the war, the establishment of the area Votech school system in the mid-60s, and the transition of one generation of leaders to another in the 80s, and the transition of the level of thinking skills needed by our students. We've gone through a lot, and it has taken great leaders to keep it together. Leaders precisely like Charlotte Edwards. Through it all, Charlotte was a dedicated and determined professional. She was also a listening ear and a loyal friend. This Oklahoma Vocational Association is an extremely unusual organization. Membership ranging from school board members, superintendents, administrators, teachers, support staff. This very complex organization also represents teachers in the common school system, the area school system, the skills centers, and the State Department. Charlotte was a master at keeping us all together at a time when it was absolutely imperative that we stay together. As you know, Charlotte has a passion for this career tech system and to every person working within it. She worked hard on our behalf, whether it was one-on-one with a particularly annoying legislator or one-on-one with a teacher who needed encouragement and support. Charlotte did the big stuff the association needed, but she also did a lot of the little things that went largely unnoticed by many of us. She would serve as a national committee chair one day and the social chair for an OVA event the next. Charlotte and I, along with many others, spent a lot of long hours at the Capitol, and I could share some great stories, but I won't. But the important thing for you to all know this evening is that Charlotte always went to bat for the system and the people in it. And I must say, she always went to bat for me. Fairly early, I learned to trust Charlotte's judgment entirely. At times, I wanted to say to her that I thought her position on an issue or the way she was going to deal with the situation was just wrong. But I quickly learned to let her do it her way. I can never remember a time she wasn't right in her decision or her direction. Charlotte was glamorously tough. She could walk around on those marble floors in high heels for hours, and she could argue the merits of our system with the best of our detractors. I was always grateful she was working on our side. Charlotte Edwards was the right person in the right job at the right time. Thank you, Charlotte, and congratulations. I am personally so proud to have shared this journey with you.
Good evening, and thank you, Roy, for those very flattering remarks. I am very honored to have you making my introduction tonight. Let me express my appreciation to the Foundation. There is no higher honor for anyone in a career tech than to be awarded the Career Tech Hall of Fame. It is the pinnacle of my career. I am humbled by your generosity and to be included among the very many esteemed past recipients. It is an honor to share this event with the family of Mike Stephens and also with my very good friends, Senator Ted Fisher, Ron Wilkerson, and Tex Williamson. Congratulations to each one of you. I'm blessed to have several of my family with me tonight. I'd like to introduce to you my husband, Joe Edwards. Joe, would you stand? He is my soulmate, my best friend, and he's my cheerleader. I am especially grateful to Joe for not only loving me, but if it weren't for him, I'd still be pounding those marble floors. I'd like to recognize my parents, Elvern and Greta Nickel of Corn, Oklahoma. My brother, Kim Nickel of Hastings, Nebraska. My niece and nephew, Jamie Nickel and Joshua Nickel, both of Edmond. I also have one cousin here with me who's like a brother to me, Leon Adams, and his wife, Judy of Jones. The list of people to thank who have influenced me and have been important to me throughout my career is almost endless. But I do want to try and mention a few. Many of them, you'll have seen their faces on the screen as previous recipients. I'm going to start with Lucille Patton. Although I was never fortunate enough to have her as an educator, she was the one responsible for me going into distributive education and into the field of vocational and technical education. Then there was Dr. Tuttle, who was always larger than life. We were at an AVA meeting in Washington, D.C. when he asked me if I was going to be content to be a teacher for the rest of my life. I was so honored to be in his presence, let alone to think that he might be interested in my future or even in being a mentor. As with many others, Dr. Tuttle had a tremendous impact on my life, and I'm deeply indebted to him. As is true with all of us that worked on the state level, I must express appreciation for the guidance and support provided by two great teachers, Dr. Alexander and Larry Hansen. They were both very special to me. The State Department has always been critical to the success of the association. I am very grateful to all of the state staff, many of you are in this room tonight, who provided leadership, guidance, and service to the association. Another individual who holds a special place in my heart is Bruce Gray. I thank him for seeing some potential in me that I couldn't see for myself. This was one of Bruce's greatest gifts, the ability that he had to bring out the best in everyone whose life he touched. He's the one that called me, urging me to apply for the executive director's position, succeeding Bill Harrison. My response was, "I can't do that." And Bruce said, "Oh, yes, you can. You just get in there and do everything that you've always been complaining about." Only complaining wasn't quite the word that Bruce used. Dr. Tuttle had announced his retirement and was planning his successor. Little did I know that Bruce and Roy Peters were plotting the future of the association and its political leadership. I was firmly assured that I would not be responsible for any of the lobbying. That was going to be Dr. Tuttle's responsibility when he retired. I was just given the task of growing the association. So much for assurances. Roy, thank you for your continued support, confidence, and friendship. We worked so well together, and we shared many experiences and fought many battles. I will always be grateful to you. My involvement as an officer, as executive director of the association, and in 20 years of working at the Capitol forged many mentors and friendships. But probably most important to me have been the women in my life. I have always surrounded myself with strong and successful women, and I thank all of them for the synergy that we have shared. I am grateful to each of you for your friendship, your support, and for making me a better person. I've learned so much from every one of you. The most fulfilling part of my work with the association was my contact with our members, most of whom are teachers. I'm very grateful to all that have given the extra effort to be leaders in our state and national associations and in its numerous divisions. We have been blessed with quality leaders that have stepped up to the challenge, whether it was in division leadership, raising money for a national building or a political campaign, or fighting a state question that would destroy our ad valorem tax base. Thank you for your involvement, your support, and your friendship. Much of the time I spent at the Capitol, I worked not only with Roy, but spent many hours with R.L. Beatty, and we became good friends working well together. R.L. and I spent a lot of nights together, with Shirley's approval, of course. The most memorable, I have to share this story, the most memorable was the last year before the constitutional amendment that requires the legislature to sine die on the last Friday of May, when they could still cover the clock, and they did. This was a Friday in late July, Friday morning, and we had a 7 a.m. appropriations meeting at the Capitol. Roy, R.L., and I finally walked out of the Capitol on Saturday at 2:30 p.m., looking like we'd been hit by a train. All three of us, Roy, R.L., and I, napped throughout the night, sitting up on the sofa in Don Duke's office. I think we had orange juice, bananas, and bologna sandwiches for breakfast. Even though we were weary and the work was grueling, we had a good time. I have fond memories of having the superintendents with us and working on late-night appropriation negotiations. The guys would sit around telling hunting and fishing stories. I can still remember Bruce Gray telling the quail hunting story of Greg Winter's brother-in-law shooting out the side of the brand new Suburban. Bruce would laugh so hard that he would cry, and we would laugh too. After Bruce was gone, Earl Cowan would continue to tell the story almost as a memorial to Bruce, and we would all laugh just as hard. Many thanks go to all of the superintendents that I have worked with through the years. They have always been supportive of our associations and our efforts at the Capitol. I'm grateful to their participation in the leadership of our organizations and encouraging the participation of their staffs and their board members. I want to especially thank Earl and Greg, who taught me more about ad valorem than I ever wanted to know. We fought many battles together, and I always appreciated their tenacity and their dedication. There were many battles through the years, but the most consuming, mentally, emotionally, and physical, was the effort to save our system. The strides that it took to get Ann named as Roy's successor was just the tip of the iceberg. and you sacrificed your career for our career tech system, and I have to say you did it with dignity and grace. We then had confirmation that certain people were laying the groundwork for the total dissolution of career tech. I don't know when I've been more angry or more frightened. I earned a great deal of criticism for speaking out and publicizing the attack. Career tech wasn't accustomed to having critics, and we always tried to keep our difficulties private. But remaining silent and permitting the axe to fall would have most certainly resulted in our demise. I am very proud of our success, and there is no doubt in my mind that we took the right course. The wisdom of Dr. Tuttle in conceiving our current career tech system allowed all of us to weather that last storm. It is a system comprised of many parts that live symbiotically. In that crisis, when the State Department was under attack, the association, through its members, brought sufficient legislative support to defeat the effort. We all know that those who oppose the use of ad valorem taxes to support the technology centers in public schools will never give up the fight. They will continue this battle, and educators must remain vigilant. I have been so fortunate to have a career with such a dynamic and worthwhile entity. Even though many of the days were difficult, it was well worth it. I always felt like I was making a very important contribution, whether it was as a teacher, an administrator, or working for the association. I have made so many friends, educators, legislators, lobbyists, and state and national leaders. I am truly grateful for the experience and the honor and the opportunity to serve Career Tech and the citizens of this state. I thank you for this honor and for being here tonight.